Okay, this should be enough to bother somebody. So we're going to take a different approach on this one, and I'm well aware that some of you might not like one or more of the things on the desk here, and that's fine. I'm not promoting any of it, and I'm not even going off topic from this channel, really. We're just going to talk about gold and its practical applications. Now, a quick word on the scary things here. We are in a closed course, just me, the camera, and a dog. That handgun is cleared and licensed, that bourbon in the background is sealed, and I'm of legal drinking age, and these Goldbacks are not going to bite you. Neither will the dog. Now, I'm going to tell you a story of using gold for a real-life transaction, and I needed to bring out some things that have some stigmas in order to tell it. So let's start with the Goldbacks first, since that's the biggest part of this story here. The team from Goldback has reached out a few times, and it's given me a chance to consider what I think of them personally, and really at first blush, I just thought they were pretty, but not a good way to stack gold. But this isn't a review of Goldbacks. I just wanted to give you the full disclosure regardless. So the company sent me Goldbacks, and then they sent me some more. And why is that important? Well, by the second round, I had told them that I wasn't going to promote them. I wouldn't recommend them as a good way to stack gold, and my real interest in them really was just experimental. So if anyone was going to send them, well, I was going to use them. And I was probably going to talk about whether or not that was easy to do. So what would it be like to buy things with Goldbacks, good or bad? Now, I was told to go for it. They did not expect me to give any kind of glowing review. They knew at least one other channel had dressed them down, and they were willing to hear what I thought. Again, good or bad. Now, the reason that I was interested in experimenting with Goldbacks is that I like the transactional possibilities for gold. At a really high level, I've considered it a saving tool for emergencies, but I've also considered it a saving tool for future large purchases like land or property. Now, if you save a bunch of gold to buy a property, there's this intermediate step in there where you have to sell your gold to get some cash and apply that cash to the purchase. So not a big deal at a high level, but it's certainly not ideal. And at a lower level, it would just be a pain. I don't want to have to convert gold to cash to go to the gas station and fill up a car. So that's where these at least become interesting. I like the smaller units. It's familiar because of the numeric values. And again, they're just smaller, 5s, 10s, 50s, and those are stacks of ones back there. Now that makes them a lot easier to spend on smaller items. Now the obstacle, of course, is finding businesses who will take the Goldbacks. But if you go to the Goldback site, you'll see that that list is always increasing. They list the businesses who will take them, and one of those businesses is a gun store that I'm familiar with. So I've mentioned merchant category codes here a few times. Every time you make a purchase with a credit card, a debit card, a bank card, whatever, that transaction is assigned a category code that lines up with the vendor that you bought from. Same thing goes for writing a check. Now last year, the International Organization for Standardization, yeah, that's a real organization called the ISO, they approved a new merchant category code for firearm sales. So if you buy a gun or ammo, an optic, a holster, the transaction is given a code. Now, is that a big deal? Maybe. Now, personally, I don't lose any sleep over it, but I just don't like the implication that it brings. Anyone with access to my purchase history would now be able to simply query for firearm purchases, and I would come up. Feels like an overreach. Now, my purchases, they all go through required background checks, and my local sheriff office will be notified in certain cases. So I'm not hiding any of this. But I don't like that from a data perspective, I could be pulled into a broad search for gun guys. Now, one way around that, of course, is to just use cash. And maybe you can buy from a big box store that also sells guns. They would have a different merchant category code. But I like the idea of making purchases like this with gold. I would like to be able to buy a car with gold. I'd like to be able to buy an expensive double-stack 1911 with gold. Maybe I'd like to be able to buy some Japanese whiskey with gold, or even that bottle of Blanton's there. These would be new applications. I could keep gold like cash and I could let it appreciate because that's what it's been doing. And then I could buy things that I don't really want to use a day-to-day account to buy. Now, enter the Goldbacks. I never considered these a stacking option. The premium is just too high. You can easily pay double to quadruple the gold content, the value of the gold content that they have in them. So a 50 gold back note costs $225 or more. Gold content in that note is 1/20th of an ounce. So that would be a crazy premium, nearly double the value of the gold used to produce that note, and smaller gold back notes are worse. The exchange rate on a gold back, though, is $4.82 right now. So if you use them at a business that accepts them, there is no concern of that premium. You're actually getting a higher value for a 50 gold back note through that exchange rate. What that means is that maybe you bought it for $225, but now that gold back note is worth $241 because of the exchange rate. Now that's a 50. The smaller notes will cost more. So the exchange rate fluctuates based on gold price. The gold backs that I had, they appreciated while I was saving them up for the item in question. So once I had enough and the gun shop had the specific firearm in stock, while I reached out to them, they sent me an invoice in gold backs rather than in dollars, and I sent the required gold backs off. So not as easy as using a debit card, something like that, but definitely you see the value because I was getting a few discounts. Now, 2 days later, they let me know they received them. They shipped the gun to my local FFL, and from there, it was just like a normal local purchase. Now, it would have been quicker had I just driven there, but it wasn't convenient at the time. So the use case for me was a lot like cash. The difference is that I was able to catch some appreciation on the value of those gold backs because the price of gold was rising. So that was while I was saving for the purchase. Now using them, that was pretty easy. I just had to find a business willing to take them. Now it would have been more comfortable handling that purchase in person. It was a big purchase, and I think there are still a number of hurdles to clear before I would say these are practical for everyone for that reason and a few similar ones, but I thought it was worth explaining what I think is an actual use case here. It's not stacking. They look like currency for a reason. They're meant to be used. Now you might think they're still a bad idea. I think that it depends, but they're getting easier and easier to use. But the bigger topic here is not about gold backs specifically, it's about gold in general. I just wanted to give a quick story of my actual use. It's an anecdotal win. I had these gold backs. I had some more given to me, no strings attached. So that let me feel a lot better about making this kind of large purchase and making it from outside the area. So the more general idea of using gold in transactions is one that I think that we need to come back to. Just showing some of the things on the desk here will have turned some people off. I get it, and that's fine. We'll do it again without all the scary stuff. So let's call it good there. Let us know what you think. Do you like the idea of spending gold? Some people only buy, never use, want to be buried with it. I'm sure others, though, are intrigued by the idea or they're already doing it. So let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, the word today is gold, and that's going to make sense to some of you, but no big deal if not. So thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.